Hi students, welcome to lesson 43, Unemployment and Youth Unrest. Introduction. India is faced with problem of unemployment which has serious consequences for individual, family and society as a whole. Unemployment is a term referring to individuals who are employable and actively seeking a job but are unable to find a job. Unemployment is one of the leading causes of youth unrest. Youth unrest is the manifestation of collective frustration of the youth in the society. It is manifested when the existing norms of the society are perceived by youth to be ineffective or harmful, making them feel discontented. As a result, they try to change the existing norms. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to understand the concept and types of unemployment and youth unrest. You will be able to explain the consequences of unemployment and youth unrest. You will be able to discuss the policy measures to address the challenges of unemployment. Let us now discuss about unemployment. Unemployment can be defined as a state of worklessness for a person fit and willing to work. The unemployment rate in India fell to 7% in September 2020 from the record high of 29% since the country went into lockdown from March 2020, says the report of CMIE, Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. However, it later increased to 9.1% in December 2020. The unemployment in India stood at 6.1% in the financial year 2018, mentions NSSO, National Sample Survey Organization, Report 2019. There are different causes of unemployment and interestingly, the reasons for unemployment in rural and urban areas vary. Let us now discuss about types of unemployment. Broadly, unemployment is classified into voluntary and involuntary unemployment. The voluntary unemployment is the one in which a person is out of the job of his own desire and doesn't work on the prevalent or prescribed wages. In involuntary unemployment, the person who is unemployed has no say in the matter. It means that a person is separated from the remunerative work and devoid of wages, although he is capable of earning his wages and is also anxious to earn them. The other types of unemployment are cyclical unemployment. This is the result of the trade cycle which is part of the capitalist system. In such a system, there is a greater unemployment, and when there is depression, a large number of people are rendered unemployed. Since such an economic crisis is the result of trade cycle, the unemployment is a part of it. Unemployment caused by failure of industries. In many cases, a business, a factory or an industry has to close down. There may be various factors responsible for it. There may be dispute among the partners. The business may give huge loss or the business may not turn out to be useful and so on. Strikes and lockouts have become inseparable aspect of the industrial world today. Due to these, industries often face economic losses and production comes down. Since workers do not get any salary or wages during the strike period, they suffer from economic hardships. They become permanently or temporarily unemployed. Seasonal unemployment. Certain industries and traders engage workers for a particular season. When the season has ended, the workers are rendered unemployed. Sugar industry is an example of this type of seasonal unemployment. Disguised unemployment. This is a type of unemployment where people employed are more than actually needed. Disguised unemployment is generally traced in unorganized sectors or the agricultural sectors. Structural unemployment. This unemployment arises when there is a mismatch between the worker's skills and availability of jobs in the market. Many people in India do not get job matching to their skills, or due to lack of required skills, they do not get jobs, and because of poor education level, it becomes important to provide them related training. Frictional unemployment. This is a situation when people are unemployed for a short span of time while searching for a new job or switching between jobs. Frictional unemployment is also called as search unemployment. It is the time lag between the jobs. Frictional unemployment is considered as voluntary unemployment because the reason for unemployment is not a shortage of jobs, but in fact the workers themselves quit their jobs in search of better opportunities. Vulnerable unemployment. People are deemed unemployed under this unemployment. People are employed but informally, that is, without proper job contracts, and thus records of their work are never maintained. It is one of the main types of unemployment in India. Technological unemployment. It is the situation when people lose their jobs due to advancement in technologies. Technological advancement contributes to economic development, but unplanned and uncontrolled growth of technology is causing havoc on job opportunities. The computerization and automation has led to technological unemployment. Employment generation is an issue of life and death for our democracy, says Amit Mitra, former Secretary General of the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. The growing unemployment is forcing people from rural areas to migrate in groups to nearby cities and towns, creating slums, social unrest, and electricity and water shortages. Millions of laboring, street vending and farm jobs are part of 92% into informal sector. Let us now discuss the various causes of unemployment. The major causes which have been responsible for the widespread unemployment are rapid population growth. It is the leading cause of unemployment in India. Population growth has adversely affected the unemployment situation largely in two ways. The rate of job expansion could never have been as high as population growth would have required. It is true that the increasing labor force requires the creation of new job opportunities at an increasing rate. But in the actual practice, employment expansion has not been sufficient to match the growth of the labor force and to reduce the backlog of the unemployment. This leads to unemployment situation. Secondly, the rapid population growth indirectly affects the unemployment situation by reducing the resources for capital formation. Limited land. Since India's population is increasing rapidly, the land is not sufficient for the growing population. As a result, there is heavy pressure on the land. In rural areas, most of the people depend directly on land for their livelihood. Land is very limited in comparison to population, creating the unemployment situation for a large number of persons who depend on agriculture in rural areas. Seasonal agriculture and lack of technology. 65.5% of Indian population is rural. In rural society, agriculture is the only means of employment. However, most of the rural people are engaged directly as well as indirectly in agricultural operation. But agriculture in India is basically a seasonal affair. It provides employment facilities to the rural people only in a particular season of the year. For example, during the sowing and harvesting period, people are fully employed, and the period between the post-harvest and before the next sowing, they remain unemployed. It has adversely affected their standard of living. Further, the usage of modern technology in Indian agriculture is yet to be used to its potential. Fragmentation of land. In India, heavy pressure on land due to large population results in the fragmentation of land. As land is fragmented and agricultural work is being hindered, the people who depend on agriculture remain unemployed. This has an adverse effect on the employment situation. It also leads to poverty of the villagers. Decline of cottage industries. Many people depend directly on various cottage industries for their livelihood, but nowadays these are adversely affected by the industrialization process. Actually, it is found that they cannot compete with modern factories in matter of production, as a result of which the village industries suffer a serious loss and are gradually closing down. Owing to this, the people who work in there remain unemployed and are unable to maintain their livelihood. Ineffective education system. The day-to-day education is ineffective and to a great extent is theoretical and not application or skill based. Its main aim is to acquire certificates. It is more general than vocational. Thus, the people who have been receiving general education lack the skills as per the industry and market requirements. It leads to unemployment as well as underemployment. Inadequate employment planning. The employment planning of the government is not adequate in comparison to population growth. The employment opportunities did not increase in proportion to the rate of population growth. As a consequence, a great difference is visible between the job opportunities and population growth. On the other hand, it is very difficult task on the part of the government to provide adequate government job facilities to all the people. However, in recent times, schemes have been introduced by the government to encourage self-employment and entrepreneurship. More emphasis on capital-intensive techniques. In India, capital is scarce and labor is available in surplus quantity. Under these circumstances, the country should adopt labor-intensive techniques of production. But it has been observed that not in industrial sector, also in agriculture sector, there is substantial increase of capital than labor. In the case of Western countries, where capital is abundant supply, use of automatic machines and other sophisticated equipments are justified, while in our country, abundant labor results in large number of unemployment. Lack of vocational guidance and training facilities. Education system provides purely academic and bookish knowledge which is not job oriented. There must be emphasis on skill oriented courses. Most of the students in rural areas remain ignorant of possible venues of employment and choice of occupation. Less means for self-employment. Another hurdle in generation of more employment opportunities is that there are inappropriate means for self-employment in rural and semi-urban areas of the country. Let us now discuss the effects of unemployment. Unemployment hampers economic growth to a great extent. Unemployment can lead to emotional and mental stress, and people can indulge in habits like alcohol and drug abuse or even may commit suicide. Unemployment leads to higher income inequalities and disparities, which further leads to poverty. Unemployment deprives a man of all sources of income, As a result, he grows poor. Therefore, unemployment generates poverty. The problem of unemployment causes loss of precious human resources. Unemployment results in many social problems comprising of dishonesty, gambling, bribery, theft, etc. Unemployment jeopardizes social security. Unemployment gives birth to political instability in country. Unemployed persons can easily be enticed by antisocial elements. They lose all faith in democratic values and peaceful means. They consider that government is worthless which fails to provide them work. In the state of unemployment, laborers are exploited to the maximum possible extent. Those laborers who get work have to work under adverse conditions of low wages. This influences the efficiency of laborers, which greatly impact the pattern of employment opportunities. Let us now discuss about youth unrest. Youth unrest is the result of excess aggression of youth frustration, anxiety and depression. This may result in young people indulging in different criminal activities. At this stage, many of them also acquire habits like smoking, drug addiction, etc., which sometimes lead them to committing criminal acts. However, their deviation into undesirable activities, which can be attributed to several contemporary issues such as ineffective education system, unemployment, regional and religious conflict, political system based on vested interests, etc., which play a major role behind the youth unrest. Besides, there are other contributing factors like changing value system, increasing selfishness on the part of the individuals, less concern for intellectual honesty, and above all, the uncertain future of the youth. The concept of youth unrest and social unrest are both interrelated. Social unrest refers to collective disillusionment, dissatisfaction, and frustration of the group, community or society. The youth tend to become annoyed when they face the problem of adjustment with unstable conditions of society. Youth unrest is reflected in collective discontent, dysfunctional condition, public concern, and the need for change in the existing norms. Let us now discuss about different types of youth unrest. Youth unrest is reflected through different ways. The most common types of youth unrest are political activities and movements. Youth unrest is associated with larger political movements. In India, students often take up political issues and join hands with other non-youth organizations and political parties and fight for them. They have taken out procession, staged demonstrations, resorted to violence, challenged and fought with police and authorities. Students' agitations for educational causes. Students have agitated demanding the appointment of teachers, enough supply of laboratory equipment, library books, cancellation of donations and capitation fees, reforms in examination system, recognition of the student union, participation of students in university representation in administrative bodies such as governing body, academic councils, postponement of examination, etc. Agitation on non-academic issues. Students have agitated for non-educational and non-political causes also. For example, they have agitated demanding special concessions for travelling in buses and trains, concessions in commercial recreational centres, etc. Spontaneous students' agitation. Sometimes students do agitate suddenly in an unexpected manner, which can be treated as spontaneous outburst of the youth. Let us now discuss about the causes of youth unrest. There are different causes behind youth unrest like the quest for freedom, state policies, social deprivation, injustice, and increasing use of social media, including other factors. Let us now discuss some of these. Economic causes of youth unrest. Youth is sensitive to the political, economic, and social inequalities and exploitation. With the existing inequalities, they become disillusioned about the future. For example, demand to reduce fees and increase scholarship for the students. A sense of insecurity for the future owing to the lacuna and gap between the economic needs of the country and the educational system. Socio-psychological causes include gap between aspiration and achievement, social distance between teachers and students, non-committed teachers, policy of status quo, corruption and inefficiency. Lack of determination and self-responsibility fail to develop the spirit of self-reliance. Such youth is highly vulnerable for any kind of use and can be easily provoked for aggressive activities. Further, the desire for power, antagonistic feeling towards the establishment, feeling and radical attitudes also impact youth unrest. The political causes consist of political interference and instigations by political leaders. The politicians make use of student power to fulfill their partisan political interests. Students are becoming puppets in the hands of some opportunistic politicians to serve their selfish ends. The cause of youth unrest lies in the social system. Social causes include improper socialization, unemployment, corrupt authority, value differences and conflict of values, etc. The failure on the part of the parents to understand the aspirations of their young children also adds to the problem. Unemployment is an important factor leading to youth unrest. The unemployment of the educated youth is on rise, where the education they receive does not enable them to become economically self-reliant. Corruption, desperation for power and moral lapses, opportunism, nepotism, discrimination, etc. in social and political system impact the youth. The value differences in society, the changes and conflicts of values also contribute to youth unrest because some of the old values are at conflict now. The traditional beliefs, practices, ideas, ideals and values appear to be outmoded, unscientific, irrelevant and irrational for the modern youth. The youth are influenced by the values of individualism and democracy. Hence, they are revolting against the old traditional order. Educational causes of youth unrest include ineffective educational system, poor administration or functioning of colleges and universities, inappropriate socialization in campus, hostile and conflicting relations between students and teachers. The outdated and irrelevant curriculum creates a huge lacuna. There is increasing demand for changes in the existing norms pertaining to admissions, the process of admission and teaching. Administrative failures caused by administrative errors and miscalculations also lead to youth unrest. The lack of sympathy for the students' demands on the part of administrations of the university as well as the government many times force the students to resort to strikes. Lack of opportunities. The youth do not get proper opportunities to express their abilities, to cultivate their interests and develop their personality. This has contributed to their dissatisfaction. Let us now discuss about the employment generation schemes to address the problem of unemployment. The various employment generation schemes also have significant objective of poverty alleviation. In 1979, the government launched TRISEM, Training of Rural Youth for Self-Employment. The objective of this scheme was to help unemployed youth of rural areas aged between 18 and 35 years to acquire skills for self-employment. The priority under this scheme was given to women and youth belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribe category. The government launched the Integrated Rural Development Program IRDP in the year 1980 to create full employment opportunities in rural areas. Swarna Jayanti Shahari Rozgar Yojana. In December 1997, the Urban Self-Employment Program USEP and the Urban Wage Employment Program UWEP, which are the two special components of SJSRY, substituted for various programs operated earlier for urban poverty alleviation. The SJSRY is funded on a 75:25 basis between the center and the states. Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojana SDSY. It was launched in April 1999 after restructuring the Integrated Rural Development Program and allied schemes. It is the only self-employment program for the rural poor. The objective is to bring the self-employed above the poverty line by providing them income generating assets through bank credit and government subsidy. Sampurna Gramir Rozgar Yojana SDRY, which was launched on September 25, 2001, provides additional wage employment in the rural areas and has cash and food grains component, and the center bears 75% and the 100% of the cost of the two, with the balance borne by the states and union territories. National Food for Work Program NFFWP, which was launched in November 2004 in 150 most backward districts to generate additional supplementary wage employment with food security. States receive food grains under NFFWP free of cost. The focus of the program is on works relating to water conservation, drought proofing including afforestation, tree plantation, etc., land development, flood control or protection including drainage in waterlogged areas, and rural connectivity in terms of all-weather roads. Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program PMEGP. Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program, run by Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, is a credit-linked subsidy program of Government of India. It has been introduced by merging the two schemes, namely Prime Minister's Rozgar Yojana and Rural Employment Generation Program, for generating employment opportunities by establishing micro enterprises in urban and rural areas in the non-farm sector. The scheme was launched on 15th August 2008. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, popularly known as NREGA. The National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, which is now a scheme, was employed in the year 2005. It is an Indian legislation enacted on 25th August. The NREGA provides a legal guarantee for 100 days of employment in every financial year to adult members of any rural household willing to do public work related unskilled manual work at the statutory minimum wage. Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushal Yojana. This scheme, run by Ministry of Rural Development, aims to skill rural youth who are poor and provide them with jobs having regular monthly wages or above the minimum wages. It is one of the clusters of initiatives of Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India, that seeks to promote rural livelihoods. It is a part of the National Rural Livelihood Mission NRLM, the mission for poverty reduction called Ajivika. Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana PMMY has been initiated by government for facilitating self-employment. Under this scheme, collateral fee loans up to rupees 10 lakhs are extended to small or micro business enterprises and to individuals to enable them to set up or expand their business activities. Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Protsahan Yojana has been initiated by the Ministry of Labour and Employment in the year 2016-17 for incentivizing employers for employment generation. Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. It was launched in 2015. The objective of the scheme is to enable the youth of the country to take up industry relevant skill training in order to acquire a secured better livelihood. Startup and Stand Up India scheme. The government launched the Startup India scheme in 2016. The aim of Startup India program was to develop an ecosystem that nurtures and promotes entrepreneurship across the nation. Stand Up India scheme, also launched in 2016, aimed to facilitate bank loans to women and SC/ST borrowers between rupees 10 lakh and rupees 1 crore for setting up a greenfield enterprise. National Skill Development Mission. It was set up in November 2014 to drive the Skill India agenda in a mission mode in order to converge the existing skill training initiatives and combine scale and quality of skilling efforts with speed. Let us now summarize this lesson. Unemployment in our country has become a complex economic, social and political issue. Half-hearted measures for temporary solutions will not yield any fruitful results. The foremost requirement is overhauling the existing educational system. Further, addressing the problem of unemployment will also help in addressing the youth unrest. Appropriate scholarships for the economically weak students, skill-based education and training, reducing the communication gap between students and teachers, and developing democratic leadership can be instrumental in reducing youth unrest.